It's hard to understand what's going on. I mean, I really, one minute you feel like, oh my gosh, this is going to be, now the landslide's going to start. And then there'll be some other weaselly little, sidestep they do. Or you can make a bad decision about a candidate. It's not who you are. It doesn't mean you're dumb. It doesn't mean you're different. It doesn't mean, the trouble with what's happening right now is these, this administration is a rabid dog, and it's turning us upside down. And all, as far as I'm concerned, it's as obvious as the nose on your face.
Jim Carrey has been drawing politically charged art targeting Trump for years, but his live TV roast finally pushed Trump over the edge. The comedian who once talked through his butt in Ace Ventura somehow landed more coherent arguments than the former president's response. In the next 10 minutes, I'll break down how Carrey's criticism of capitalism without conscience and immigrant hatred triggered Trump's most unhinged meltdown yet. You'll see exactly how the comedian's words exposed Trump's inability to handle even the mildest criticism. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Jim Carrey isn't just some guy who made a career out of talking through his butt in Ace Ventura. For years now, he's been waging a one-man art war against Trump that's got the former president fuming like a toddler who had his lollipop taken away. While most Hollywood types stick to boring award show speeches and predictable Twitter rants, Carrey picked up a paintbrush and started creating political cartoons that hit Trump where it hurts, right in his oversized ego. Back in 2018, Carrey began sharing his artistic creations on social media, and they weren't your typical celebrity vanity projects. These were scathing political cartoons that depicted Trump in ways that made the Orange Man turn even redder with rage.
You got to speak, man. This is not a time to clam up, and not a time to get frightened. You have to do what you have to do. This is dire. I just want to express it in a positive way. I want to turn everything painful into art.
You react to the pipe bombs. Are you afraid personally ever?
Apparently, I was threatened on Twitter, so I don't know. I didn't see the thing. I heard there was, some severed goat head, and I'll see you soon, kind of thing.
One showed Trump as an actual ill wind blowing Lady Liberty off balance. Another portrayed him with Nazi imagery, suggesting the not-so-subtle comparison between Trump's rhetoric and fascist propaganda. Trump's supporters called it unfair, but Carrey wasn't just throwing random insults. He was creating visual metaphors that cut through the noise. What makes Carrey's attacks so effective is that he doesn't just mock Trump's appearance like every late-night comedian with a microphone. Instead, he targets specific policies and behaviors. In one particularly biting cartoon, Carrey depicted Trump as a potential extinction-level event, comparing his environmental policies to a world-ending catastrophe. In another, he showed Trump as a grotesque cloud monster raining misery on immigrants. These aren't just cheap shots, they're artistic statements backed by specific criticism of Trump's actual governance. When most celebrities attack Trump, they sound like they're reading talking points someone handed them backstage at the Oscars. But Carrey goes deeper, condemning what he calls capitalism without conscience, and highlighting the human cost of Trump's immigration policies. He doesn't just say Trump is bad, he illustrates exactly why, with both humor and surprising emotional depth. Trump's response? Exactly what you'd expect from someone with skin thinner than dollar store toilet paper. He dismissed Carrey as washed up and unfunny, which is pretty rich coming from a guy whose idea of comedy is nicknaming political opponents like a mean fifth grader. Meanwhile, Carrey remains culturally relevant decades after his comedic peak, with his art exhibitions drawing crowds and his political commentary generating millions of views online. What really gets under Trump's skin is how Carrey weaponizes his unique skill set against him.
I can break bread with anybody in this country. I love people in this country. I love the heartland of this country. It has nothing to do with that. These really negative forces like the Steve Bannons of the world are convincing us that we're separate, that we're not the same country, that there's two countries. There's not two countries. It has to do with, it's become obvious that the choice was a bad one. We just need to change it. And if you can't vote for a Democrat, at least let all this flood of information that's so negative.
Most celebrities just have their fame to leverage, but Carrey brings a double-barreled attack. The artistic talent to create viral images and the comedian's precision timing to deliver the perfect punchline. It's like being attacked by someone who studied your weaknesses for years and knows exactly where to strike. Trump supporters might argue that Carrey is just another Hollywood elitist taking potshots at their hero. But that argument falls flat when you consider that Trump himself is a former reality TV star who lived in a gold-plated penthouse. The difference is that Carrey actually worked his way up from poverty and homelessness to success, while Trump started with a small loan of millions from daddy. What makes this feud so fascinating is watching how Carrey's background as a physical comedian comes into play. The rubber-faced expressions that made him famous in films like The Mask become deadly weapons when he mimics Trump's mannerisms. In public appearances, Carrey doesn't just criticize Trump. He becomes a grotesque version of him, exaggerating his speech patterns and facial tics with the precision of someone who has studied character work for decades. In one particularly viral moment, Carrey demonstrated how Trump's face seems to form the words "I'm an idiot" with every expression, using his unparalleled control of his facial muscles to transform into Trump mid-sentence. For a man as obsessed with his public image as Trump, seeing himself parodied with such skillful mockery is like kryptonite to his Superman complex. The most recent roast was apparently the final straw.
Makes me feel good.
When you were a kid, would you draw caricatures of your friends, etc.?
I did. I drew pictures of my teacher.
Oh, really?
And I don't
How'd
have
that
any of
go
those
over?
with me. She actually stole. Wow, look at this. I can do anything with it. Not working. Oh, they got you coming and going, man. You know what I mean?
That is remarkable, I have to say.
Incredible transformation.
It is an incredible transformation. Who was the teacher
Watch
you drew?
this.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Carrey combined his artistic and comedic talents in a performance that stripped away Trump's carefully constructed strongman image and revealed him as exactly what critics have always claimed: a deeply insecure man desperate for approval. Trump couldn't handle seeing himself through Carrey's unflattering lens, especially when audiences responded with laughter rather than the respect Trump constantly craves. When Trump's massive ego collided with Carrey's razor-sharp wit, the result wasn't just a presidential response. It was a Category 5 meltdown that transformed a comedian's jokes into national news. Why would a man who claims to be so strong and powerful completely lose his composure over comedy unless those jokes struck at something painfully true? Trump's response was a masterclass in how to make things worse for yourself. Instead of ignoring Carrey or offering a quick dismissal, Trump unleashed a rambling 3 a.m. tweet storm that read like it was written by a toddler with a thesaurus. Washed-up unfunny loser Jim Carrey should stick to talking through his butt instead of his mouth. Sad was just the appetizer in what became a 12-tweet tantrum that left even his diehard supporters checking their phones and muttering, "Sir, this is a Wendy's." The former president's attempt to paint Carrey as some Hollywood elitist backfired spectacularly. Trump, a guy with golden toilets who literally lived in a tower with his name on it, tried to position himself as a man of the people against the Hollywood establishment. This from a man who had his own TV show, cameos in Home Alone 2, and spent decades desperately trying to get celebrities to like him. It's like watching Scrooge McDuck call someone else too into money. In classic Trump fashion, he never once addressed the actual substance of Carrey's criticisms. Instead, he went straight for personal attacks, claiming Carrey was desperate for attention and jealous of my ratings. Trump even brought up movies from the 90s, ranting that Ace Ventura wouldn't even make $5 today. Bomba. Meanwhile, Carrey's actual critiques about policy and character went completely unaddressed, as if they existed in another dimension. What's particularly revealing is Trump's obsession with celebrity approval. For someone who claims to despise Hollywood, he sure spends a lot of time tracking who likes him there. Former White House staffers revealed Trump kept a mental catalog of which celebrities supported him and which didn't, and would frequently ask about it. He'd be in security briefings about North Korea and suddenly ask, "Does Mark Wahlberg like me?" said one exasperated former aide. This obsession makes his attempts to dismiss celebrities who criticize him ring particularly hollow. The contrast between the two men's ability to laugh at themselves couldn't be more stark. Carrey has built a career partly on self-deprecation, willingly looking ridiculous for a laugh. Meanwhile, Trump has the comedic self-awareness of a granite countertop. When the White House Correspondents' Dinner traditionally roasts the president, Trump was the first president in decades to refuse to attend. Twice. One former staffer noted, "He can dish it out all day long, but one joke at his expense, and he becomes completely unhinged." As Trump's response spiraled further out of control, reports emerged of panic inside his inner circle. "It was a 5-alarm fire," said one source close to his team. "We were literally hiding his phone, but he kept finding it." Advisors knew his thin-skinned reaction was only validating everything Carrey had said in the first place. The harder Trump tried to prove he wasn't bothered, the more obviously bothered he became, like someone insisting they're calm while throwing furniture. What started as a simple comedy bit quickly morphed into the bigger story. News outlets that initially ignored Carrey's performance now ran wall-to-wall coverage of Trump's meltdown. The headline wasn't "Comedian Roasts Trump," but "Trump has complete meltdown over comedy routine." Cable news chyrons gleefully displayed Trump's most unhinged tweets, while panels of commentators tried not to visibly enjoy themselves too much while analyzing the former president's fragility. Multiple sources later revealed that Trump's team held emergency damage control meetings as the situation deteriorated. "He wanted us to call Saturday Night Live and demand they hire better-looking actors to play him," one insider confided. "Then he wanted us to investigate if Carrey had ever visited Russia. It was completely unhinged." As his staff tried to pivot back to policy messaging, Trump reportedly kept interrupting strategy sessions to suggest increasingly bizarre counterattacks, including challenging Carrey to a comedy off where they would see who gets more laughs. Trump's bizarre comedy off challenge to Carrey wasn't just a one-time meltdown. It's a well-established pattern that keeps repeating itself with alarming predictability. For a guy who brags about being tough enough to stare down world leaders, Trump crumbles faster than a cookie in milk whenever a comedian throws a few jokes his way. Remember when Trump spent weeks rage tweeting about Alec Baldwin's SNL impersonation? Or when he demanded NBC investigate comedy shows for collusion against him? The thin-skinned reactions are practically a scheduled event in the entertainment industry. After Stephen Colbert made a particularly spicy joke about Trump and Putin, Trump didn't just criticize the joke, he called for Colbert to be fired. Nothing says, "I'm totally not bothered," like trying to end someone's career over a punchline. Meanwhile, other politicians figured out long ago that playing along with comedians actually helps their image. Obama roasted himself at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. George W. Bush commissioned a professional comedian to create a video where he searched for WMDs under his desk. Even Dick Cheney, yes, Darth Vader himself, appeared on late-night shows to joke about his robotic heart. These politicians understood what Trump never could. When you laugh at yourself, you take away the comedian's power. Trump's love-hate relationship with Hollywood is especially weird considering his background. Before politics, Trump's biggest accomplishment was being a TV celebrity. He spent decades desperately trying to get the cool kids in Hollywood to like him. Former Apprentice staffers have shared how Trump would light up whenever a B-list celebrity called the set. He'd brag for days if he got mentioned on Entertainment Tonight. This is the same guy who now tweets that Hollywood elites are out of touch whenever they mock him. What's funnier is how comedians have basically written the "How to Make Trump Explode" handbook by now. Step 1. Mock his business acumen. Step 2. Imply he's not as rich as he claims. Step 3. Stand back and watch the Twitter tirade. Jimmy Kimmel once joked that Trump wasn't even a good businessman, he just played one on TV, and Trump responded with 4 angry tweets before breakfast. The formula works every single time. Trump's impulsive responses to jokes actually create way more negative press than the original comedy bits. When Seth Meyers made a 5-minute Trump joke segment on Late Night, it got decent views. But when Trump spent days attacking Meyers, suddenly those clips went viral, reaching millions who'd never have seen the original jokes. Trump essentially provides free advertising for the very comedians he's trying to destroy. Even Trump's supporters have started noticing this self-destructive pattern. After one particularly unhinged response to a Saturday Night Live sketch, a Trump-friendly commentator begged on Fox News, "Please stop watching SNL, Mr. President. For the good of the country, just ignore them." When your own team is pleading with you to stop making yourself look bad, maybe it's time to listen. But what made Carrey's pokes especially devastating was how they targeted Trump's core identity. When Carrey criticized capitalism without conscience, he wasn't just making fun of Trump's policies. He was attacking the very foundation of Trump's self-image as a successful businessman. That's why Trump's reaction was so extreme. Most presidents define themselves by their leadership, values, or vision. Trump defines himself by his supposed business genius, which is why comedians mocking his multiple bankruptcies, failed casinos, and questionable deals push him over the edge every time. Trump's obsession with comedians reveals something more troubling than just a thin skin. Most politicians learn to handle criticism with grace because they understand it comes with the territory. But Trump seems genuinely bewildered that anyone would dare mock him. When confronted with humor, he doesn't see legitimate criticism wrapped in jokes. He sees personal betrayal requiring immediate vengeance. What began as a comedian's roast has revealed something much deeper about our former president. Carrey's takedown of Trump wasn't just funny. It exposed the Achilles heel that will forever plague him, a complete inability to laugh at himself. Trump's fragile ego forces him to respond to every joke, turning minor jabs into major news cycles. The pattern is as predictable as his orange tan. A comedian makes a joke, Trump loses his mind, and suddenly everyone's watching the clip the grumpy Trumpy tried to suppress. It's like clockwork, folks. Wound him up and watch him go. At the end of this comedy battle, we're left with an unexpected plot twist. The guy famous for talking through his butt in movies has somehow become the voice of reason, while the former leader of the free world throws tantrums like a toddler who dropped his ice cream. Donnie Diapers strikes again.